Welcome to yet another episode of Five Rivers. Today we have Dr. Saumya Sharan with us, and the topic of the day is psychology of diabetes. We all go through diabetes content, and we do find a lot of people talking about diet, fitness, intermittent fasting, but really there is not a lot about the mental part of it, the emotions and the feelings of what happens when you first discover diabetes, or every time you check your fasting blood sugar, or every few months when that A1C report comes out, right? And we have the right person with us. We have Dr. Saumya Sharan with us, who's a clinical psychologist for over 10 years, right? She has won the APJ Abdul Kalam Award, and she's also a gold medalist from her campus. And we really want to know from her side, in her experience of working with diabetics, the psychology of diabetes. Over to you, Dr. Saumya Sharan, to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Raman, and thank you for having me. I'm Dr. Saumya Sharan. I'm a clinical psychologist and I'm a behavioral psychologist. And I'm really excited to be here and talking about what Raman just asked, the psychology of diabetes. I think I really love answering this question because I think whenever we talk about diabetes, we look at the journey and the management part of it in terms of the medicine, the medical management, what do you eat, what do you not eat, being very mindful and careful of that, your physical fitness aspect, the exercise aspect, what your lifestyle needs to look like. But what we really undermine, or what is really rarely looked at, is the behavioral, the psychological, the emotional aspect of it. Something that starts from the moment you start this journey, and it's been, you wake up, you have to monitor your sugar. Are you feeling motivated towards it? Are you not feeling motivated towards it? That meal that you're just about to have, are you having that because you're mindful of what you need to eat, or is there some other underlying emotion that is making you have that? So I think it's very important and very crucial to look at the mind and the processes of the mind, the thought, the emotions, the feelings, the behavior, and how they are connected together to impact your choices, which really has an effect on your self-management journey of diabetes. So yes, I'm here to talk about that, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Dr. Saumya, it's so great to have you here. Right, so you know, we have a lot of people who talk about diabetes who are on our channel, and we did a small round of questionnaire to ask what is it that people are looking for, right? And to my surprise, the first and the biggest question that term came up was that there's so many people who struggle with the feelings of guilt, shame, or even anger after the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. How can someone navigate these complex emotions?
So the first thing is to understand about these emotions, right? Now, understand whenever you get the diagnosis of diabetes, it is a major change. It is a major thing, a major step that happens in your life. Whenever there is an aspect of kind of change, or something that you get to hear where your life is going to be different from how it was. You've learned something about yourself. Now, many of us may not have heard, but it leads to the element of grief also. Because now your life is not probably going to be the same way that you would have, kind of imagined. I'm not saying it's not going to be good or great, but it will slightly be different. So there will be grief. Now, grief comes with these emotions of anger, shame, and guilt. So, first things first is to be aware that what you're going through is very normal and it's completely okay. That people do go through this, even though they may not talk about it. The second thing is, now that you're aware, understand that you're more empowered to deal with these emotions. Another thing is that about any emotion. whether it is anger, whether it is shame, whether it is guilt, understand that the only way, you can take it fortunately or unfortunately, but the only way out of the emotion is to go through with it. So allow the emotion to come. It will wash over you. It may not feel comfortable, but it won't stay, it will also leave. And then life may not be the same, but it will still be worth living and worth a lot of things. Now, how to navigate through, I think, anger, shame, and guilt is, remember, at this point of your life, you've come to a juncture where a lot of steps or things are required from your end. You need to start seeing things, in a different way, with a different lens. You need to start supporting. This is probably the time in your life where you need the most support from the people around you and from yourself. So yes, there is shame, there is guilt, there is anger. You question yourself for, for a lot of choices that you've made or for a lot of things that you've lived. But after you're done with the questioning, understand that you also need that kind of support. You need to somewhere forgive yourself. You need that kind of kindness and compassion to yourself, because no change is happening, no growth is happening till the time you're not there to show up for you, to support yourself, to really understand yourself, that what is it that I need right now? How can I help myself better? How can I support myself better? Will you be able to do that from a space of shame or guilt? Not really. So you need to slowly start coming to a space of acceptance and also start supporting yourself better. That, okay, now this is how things are going to be. What do I do? Whose support do I take? What do I, who do I consult? What are the resources that I have? How do I make a plan? How do I make use of all of this to support myself through this journey when I need myself the most? So I think these are some of the things that I feel we need to keep in mind when navigating through guilt and shame and anger, and understand it's normal. It's okay.
That was fantastic, Dr. Saumya, right? You talked about acceptance, you talked about mindfulness, and uh, uh, I also want to understand that. I also feel that uh, people are alone in this journey, right? A lot of people are not happy sharing their medical details with the other people. I have friends who are 35, 38, who are diabetic, and they don't want to talk about it. They even don't sometimes feel comfortable telling their wives about the fact that they're diabetic, right? So people find themselves alone while they are in a family living in the same house with multiple other people. What's your opinion on that? Like, how can family members help support this journey? One, and two, how to break this to family members so that it is easy for family members as well.
Another very nice question, Raman, because I am a very strong, advocate of the fact that this is not a journey that you undertake all by yourself. It needs to be, how we talk about, when we talk about raising children, we say it takes a village to raise a child. But then, we stop there when it comes to the social aspects of it. We also need to understand that when it comes to when it comes to a diagnosis like diabetes, or when it comes to changes in your life, or, you receiving some news or something about your health, some aspect of your, it needs to happen in a in a space where you are with people, you are supported by people. The aspect of support, the aspect of people getting together and showing up for you is very, very important even here. So I will always say that you don't need to, and I won't say you cannot, but I will say you don't need to and you don't have to undertake it alone. So one of the things that I believe is that whenever you do have this diagnosis, you do get this diagnosis, and you will go through difficult emotions. But identify people in your life who can probably, start going with you for the appointments, for, to the doctor's appointments, or if you're part of a program, so they're also part of that with you. So they are supporting you. And communication is a very important key here, where you sit people down and people who you can trust, people who you're comfortable with, whether it is in your family, whether it is, it is friends, whether it is people who you're very close to, your partners. You need those people in your life at that point. So sit them down and then let them know that this is something that I'm going through, and this would require a lot of steps that I need to take for my lifestyle, for my management, and I need you here with me. And just be kind of very communicative about it, that I need you here with me, and involve them in part of your meals, part of planning your meals, your everyday, kind of make them your accountability partners. You can be a part of a forum where you can meet people who are going through something similar, or a support group. So I would say it's a very collective journey that the person has to go through, with people supporting the person and being there and showing up for the person, and allow those people to be there. Yes, there will be times where you do hear, probably a criticism somewhere, or a statement which may not feel good, but you need to look at the overall picture, that they're there to support you, and they want to get into the know-how of how to do it. How do I support you better? So people are generally, community aspect of diabetes management and reversal is something that is very, very important. Communicate, identify people, get them into your circle, and make them uh, a part of your journey. Whether it is, from the morning, you ask them to remind you for a like a checkup of your sugar level, or whether it is you're involving them in meal planning, or you're a part of a WhatsApp group. But in any way you can allow community to be there, it's going to be just very helpful and very empowering for you.
I think you're right. I mean, I'm just recalling some numbers. I mean, in the past, we've talked about we've seen so many diabetes remissions in the past. And yes, now that you've talked about it, I think I can go back and yeah. So there were people who took the diabetes remission programs as couples, right? Husband, wife, both. And there we had seen success of up to 90%, right? Which was significantly higher than 70-75% on an average in people who are trying to do it alone. And the other place where we saw a lot of success was where the the kid was helping out. So, and you'd have all these 29, 30-year-old IT engineers who are helping their parents who are 25 to 30, 55 to 60-year-olds, becoming a part of this journey, right? So I think I agree to you. There is some evidence that we have seen, and I think on the other hand, it makes it, because diabetes requires you to do a certain level of changes in the food that you eat, right? And when that becomes a part of the family, right? So when the same food is being cooked and the wife and the husband and kids are eating the same, the effects are significant. I mean, so many times we've actually sold to the husband, but the wife lost 5 kgs, and that built, more trust in the program and in the philosophy, where, one person is actually taking the first step, and then a lot of them in the immediate circle are taking benefit of it, because all of them are elevating themselves, right? So fantastic. I mean, whatever you said corroborates with the data that we have, right? I want to move on to the next question, right? That we've received, and this one talks about setbacks. So, I mean, I won't take the name of the specific lady who asked this question, but I mean, since this person would be around 40, 45 years old, and since they have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, they feel that their performance at work is impacted, right? And they just wanted to know why it happens, and how and why they can just reverse it. The performance at work being impacted because of diabetes, right? Yeah. So what's your opinion on that, Dr. Sana?
I would say, see, this is, as a society, it's that's the narrative. We view progress as something like this, that it has to just keep going upward, it has to keep getting better, and progress is something that only is kind of perceived as some when your charts look better, when your health looks better. But you need to understand this about progress. When you're on a journey and when you are going towards progress, there will be days which are like a plateau. There will be days where you dip down a little bit. And progress can also look like this as long as you're willing to move forward. It is progress. If you're putting in efforts forward, it is progress. So when it comes to setback, so I think I perceive two questions here. One is about the setback part of it, and the other is about performance at work. So first about setback, like I said, remember progress is can also look like this. When it comes to setbacks, there will be setbacks. The more we're aware and the more we kind of come to a space of acceptance that there will be days where things don't go our way. But what do we do with those days? How do we respond to those days is something that can be the game changer. Do we say that, oh, this is not happening, I can't do this? The most important element here is the belief in yourself. If you say that, you know, what, I can't do this, this is not happening, and I'm not able to do this, you are going to feel rejected, you're going to feel demotivated, you're going to show in your choices. You'll be like, let me just eat whatever, this nothing is changing. On the other hand, same situation, you have a setback, but you look at it a little differently. You respond differently. You tell yourself, well, yes, I've received a setback. You're not denying it. But now, maybe, what can I do to make it better? I do have the power and control. So maybe how can I change my next choice? How can I change my next meal to make it better? So if you were just going to the fridge and opening it and eating whatever, and instead of that, you tell yourself that, well, maybe the morning or the last night, whatever I ate or however my activity level were, it impacted my reading. But now that I have a choice, maybe I can choose differently. So maybe I cannot get into the process of self-sabotaging even more and choose differently, choose a different meal. When I go to bed tonight, I will sleep proud. So that's the response you can have to setbacks, and understand that it will be an inevitable part of your life. I mean, I always quote Michael Jordan here, where I was watching one of his videos where he says that I missed 9,000 shots, and I've done so many games where there was such heartbeats, and I failed over and over again, and that's why I succeed, because what you failure will be a part of your journey, but how you respond to failure is what will really determine the rest of the journey. So that's about setback. The other thing about performance at work, we will not be able to move further until we understand the interconnectedness of different aspects of our life. For example, physical health, how we feel in our body, what we think, our energy levels, our feelings, and our focus levels, our concentration. They're all very interrelated. So if you want to pick up the pieces, take any department, take any area, for example. How can you work on your thoughts better? How can you respond to your thoughts better? Or maybe, let's say this is impacting your work. What can you do to feel a little more empowered, which will also show in your work? Do you need a break, or do you need to probably sit with yourself and kind of realign things as per your needs? Do you need the support of someone? Do you need to speak to someone? How do you tap into the community aspect? So even if you have one area and start working on that, it will have an impact on the rest of the areas, and eventually have an impact in terms of your performance at work.
That's a fantastic response, Dr. Saumya. You talked about self-sabotage, you talked about Michael Jordan. Right, that reminded me of one more thing from Rocky Balboa, right? It's a famous movie you would have seen, right? He says it's not about you know how hard you get hit, but how hard you get hit and you get onto the track and start moving again, right? So setbacks are gonna come. The other thing that just took my attention was the word self-sabotage, right? So, I mean, it's just that diabetes setbacks is so often, and the glucometer, say every morning the glucometer says that something is wrong, and the setbacks are so often that we've seen that approximately 50 to 70% of Americans, 50 to 70% of Americans suffering from diabetes have uh, symptoms of mental illness, right? Is there anything that you would like to talk more on those lines, of how to avoid depression, anxiety, and what more can be done to support diabetes patients with mental health?
Yeah. So again, another aspect I'd say, Raman, which is which needs to be looked at more is the interconnectedness between the diagnosis of diabetes and sometimes comorbid conditions that happen along with it because you go through emotions like shame and guilt and grief and anger. So there is a likelihood that you could have patterns or a depressive response, an anxiety related response, or a grief related response. So that will happen. One thing that I'd like to, mention here is when it comes to emotions and the actions that you take for that, I believe there is this thing called if you can name it, you can tame it. As long as easy as it sounds, it's probably not. But the whole idea behind this is if you can name what emotions you're going through and identify it and recognize it and be aware of it, you will also and name it to yourself, very in a very aware state, you will understand that it leads to the problem solving parts of your brain getting activated. So then you will get curious, okay, what do I do with it? So for example, when I'm feeling, I look at the glucometer and I look at the reading and it just impacts me. It just makes me feel low. It makes me feel anxious. It makes me feel scared. Now, you can also take cues from the past. That you've been through so many difficult moments in the past. What have you done that has supported you better? What have you done when you were scared or when you were learning something new? What have you done when you were low and you felt like, how am I getting out of this situation? So take cues from your past. These are all skills, these are all strengths within you. Sometimes you just need to tap into those and ask yourself, what do I need to do for myself in order to support myself better? But do understand that I think awareness can be very empowering. If when you're aware that okay, this will happen or this might happen, let me just put some of my resources in order. Let me understand that if this happens or when I get up tomorrow morning and this is what my reading would look like and it would impact me, what am I going to do about it? Am I, first of all, I do need to feel slightly more in control or slightly better to be able to take the next step. So to in order to feel that better, what will I do? How will I support? Will I talk to someone? Will I just be with myself? Will I just be compassionate to myself? So I think these are the things that we need to keep in mind also.
So I'm going to summarize, right? So you're saying that wake up in the morning, accept that you're at the spot, right, where you're at. You can't change anything about it. And while you're at it, like talk to your family, talk to your friends about what's happening, how it's happening, formulate an action plan about it. There's a lot of help available out there right now. 10 years back, that help wouldn't have been there, but the recent research and the studies shows that diabetes remission is possible up to 80-90% of the cases, right? So get that help. Remission is like equivalent to like, not cure, but equivalent to closer to cure, right? Even if you don't get 100% remission, right, those 10-20% people are not able to get 100% remission, still feel a lot of control. So accept your situation, take the help that is needed, right? This is not something that you have to do on your own, right? If today you're doing something, say you're a sales guy, and you have to learn, say, product or AI. Don't try to go and do it yourself. Take some help, right? Whoever you take this help from, take help from an expert. Shut down an action plan and do it. And it's the doing in which you'll find progress, right? So that's where the next question comes in. I mean, not everyone would have access to the resources, right? Some of us, yes, may be living in New York or California or San Francisco, some of the places where all of these solutions are readily available. But some of us may be in tier 2, tier 3 towns where these solutions are not readily available. And that's where I see the role of technology, right? So what do you think are the technology solutions that are available in the market today, or what would, be seen in the next 6 months, 1, 2 years, that would really help people solve diabetes, and more from a psychological standpoint? Uh, I'd like to know your opinion on that, Dr. Saumya.
Yeah, I think we're living in a very technology kind of heavy age, or an age where we there are lots of tools available. Now, of course, whenever there are lots of tools available, it kind of also makes you feel like, what do you go ahead with and what do you kind of not go ahead with, what do you choose and what do you leave behind. So understand that, make use of these tools. When I say make use of these tools, what that's going to look like is probably, be a part of a journey where there is the community aspect, where there are people who are going through something similar, and they're taking that, the help of technology, and they're on a similar platform where you can be in touch with them. Be a part of a journey, a program where you're in touch with medical experts, where you're in touch with, behavioral psychological experts, you're in touch with nutrition experts, physical fitness experts. So there are lots of tools that you can, kind of make use of, and just tap into those tools. So even if you can't, I think the beautiful part about technology today is you don't have to physically be there. Just, do your research and try and get in touch with people or platforms which are going to give you like a comprehensive program, which is going to take care of all of these aspects of, your emotional aspects, the medical management, physical management, community aspect. So getting, but you'll have to be the person to take that first step. I think the bravest thing that a person can do is to ask for help. So as soon as you accept and tell yourself that, "Okay, I do need to take that help," what understand what do I need to do for that. So getting, tap into those tools and see where you can reach out, what you need to do to get in touch with those people, those programs, what you have to do to sign up for it. But I would say, always remember, when you're part of a, kind of a comprehensive program and a community aspect, it's always going to work much more beautifully. And you just have to, you need a screen and you need technology which everyone has access to nowadays, and then you're good to go. There are people who will be, on the other side of the screen. There are people who are willing to give you that support in their respective fields and specializations, to help you through that journey.
Fantastic answer, Dr. Soumya. Yeah. So let me plug that with the sponsor of today's Five Rivers podcast, Psychology of Diabetes. Five Rivers is sponsored by Heald Diabetes. Heald Diabetes is a company which helps people across the USA, no matter which city you're in, provide virtual care for diabetes. They have nutritionists, doctors, behavior psychologists, fitness experts. They have a bunch of wearables like a continuous glucose monitor, which you can put on your arm, a weight scale, integration with all sorts of watches. And they calibrate your nutrition, your sleep, your fitness activity, and they use their mobile app to provide all of these services, and so that you can chart out a plan for yourself to take care of your diabetes. I'm repeating again, Five Rivers podcast is sponsored by Heal Diabetes, and this is their specialty, and they are the people who provide the technology as well as the comprehensive plans to help you solve all of these solutions on diabetes. The best part, they also have a thriving community. Uh, they also have a thriving community which of people which help each other get better across all sort of diversity, people from various ethnicities and cultures put together. That brings us to an end